These parables are the kind that really don't need any interpretation. There's nobody here that hasn't heard these stories, this parable before, the prodigal son, and there's nobody here really, even the younger of us, who doesn't understand the story. So it's not a matter of understanding, it's a matter of taking it as a story and an invitation for ourselves. That's the challenge today. The challenge is to see that God is inviting us today into His mercy. And that unlike some things in life, this is not a zero-sum game. There is more than enough in His estate, in His embrace, and in His love for every single one of us and every single one who didn't come to church today and every single one who doesn't live in Arlington. There is plenty for all. So the invitation is not to live in fear that there won't be enough, that His estate, squandered by so many of our sisters and brothers, won't be sufficient for us. That's not the question, as Jesus says. There is mercy and love enough for every one of us, and everyone who didn't come, and everyone who won't ever come. There's mercy enough for all. And it's not going to take one iota away from the love that God has for me and the love that He has for you who came today. There is overwhelming love for you. So the challenge is to accept the invitation. Now, obviously there might be some of us here who feel very far from the mercy of God. Maybe you, more like one of these sons, have squandered a lot of your talents, a lot of your gifts, a lot of your education, a lot of the goodwill that your family and friends had toward you. You burned your bridges. You have not burned your bridges with the one who counts, with God. This invitation is wide open to you. You have only to turn and look back and you'll see your Father, so to speak, in your mind's eye coming to give you a warm embrace, to welcome you back, to honor you with clothing of love and sandals of righteousness and a feast of joy for every one of us. So no matter how many bridges you and I have burned, maybe with our older sister or our younger brother or our neighbor or the supervisor at work, there is one looking for you, inviting you, anxious, ready to embrace and love you with all the love that God can give. And if you feel maybe that others have gotten more than you, that it's not sufficient for you, that your older sister or your younger brother or your cousin have been too privileged, you cannot exhaust the love that God has for you. What He says to one of the sons, He says, all that I have is yours. Indeed, all God's love is for all of us. Those who burned our bridges and those who are here today, there's sufficient love. It will not be exhausted. The challenge for us is to accept that invitation in our own way, to turn back and to receive the Lord. Now, I know that you've heard this story before, and probably every one of us tell the story ourselves. So it's not a matter, as I said at the beginning, of not understanding, of not having heard it. But I challenge you today to accept that invitation to the embrace of God, to His love, to His mercy, to His joy in being with you. No matter what bridges you burn, no matter how bad or good you've been. And so, take today sometime when the quiet's down, when You're just about to take a nap, or just about before you're going to watch the game. And take about 10 minutes to open your heart and say, Lord, I'm not sure, maybe. Maybe you're not sure that this is true for you, this story. But open your hearts and you're going to find, brother and sister here today, there's an embrace for you. And there's joy in the return. And there is no exhausting the mercy and love that God has for every one of you. He has it for me. That's why I'm here today. To tell you that I know He loves me. And I know He loves you. And I know there's no exhausting God's love for you. So, find some time. Invite the Lord into your life. Let His mercy surround you and embrace you. Put on a cloak of joy. Dance in your heart with a Father who loves you. Be carried on His shoulders like a lamb returning. Let Him plead with you to come into the house. Let Him invite you. Come. Come. This story is my story. And this story is your story. And there's no exhausting the love and the mercy of God.